A breaking development in a case of clergy sex assault. Today, the Supreme Court of Canada upheld a landmark ruling that awarded survivor Rod McLeod $2.6 million, the largest of its kind in Canada. When McLeod was a child, he was sexually assaulted by a priest who belonged to a Catholic order known as the Basilian Fathers of Toronto. Even though the priest confessed, was convicted, and spent time in jail, the Basilians made multiple appeals. Today, they were turned down a final time by Canada's highest court. Our Adrian Ghobrial has the details of the lengthy legal battle, beginning with reaction tonight from McLeod's lawyer.
It shows that one individual with perseverance and guts can beat the big institution. A big part of this decision, which will echo across the entire country, is that the legal test to prove it's affected your education and your employment over the years, it's lower now, so it's easier.
The Supreme Court ruling will be seen as a major victory by survivors of childhood sexual assault. We've been following Rod McLeod's story for months now. He's told us about the trauma he's endured, as well as the stress the legal battle has caused. A warning some may find tonight's story disturbing.
You knew in those days, sir, that it was a criminal offense, correct?
I imagine so, but...
You knew it was a breach of the Ten Commandments?
Yes.
In a 2012 civil deposition, a disgraced former Basilian priest, William Hod Marshall, admitted to sexually assaulting multiple children over a period of decades.
Is it fair to say that almost every school you taught at, you would have sexually touched boys?
With a few exceptions, yes.
Marshall would go on to admit to assaulting one girl and 16 boys during his time as a spiritual leader, teacher, principal, and coach at multiple schools run by the Basilian Fathers. One of those victims is Rod McLeod, who Marshall sexually assaulted from grade 9 to 13 at Sudbury's all-boys St. Charles High School.
It was about 50 times altogether.
McLeod's multi-million-dollar verdict is a Canadian record for clergy abuse. The Basilians lost an appeal at the provincial courts. Lawyer Rob Talek has been working with McLeod on the case for years.
I would not expect a Christian organization to be using tax-free dollars, charitable money given to them in good faith, to do legal battle after legal battle to try and suppress a victim who's seeking compensation.
You would think that here we're dealing with a religious order. Their behavior has been the opposite. It's been a behavior of only being interested in the money, only listening to their lawyers, never listening to their hearts, never saying, well, what would Jesus do in this circumstance? Not even on the table.
What message does that send to you from the Basilians?
Well, it's a very consistent message that they do not care one whit about the victims. They couldn't care less about them. And all we are is something that needs to be swept under the carpet.
Ahead of the original trial, the Basilians sent McLeod multiple settlement offers. The 70-year-old says if this was about the money for him, he would have taken the cash and disappeared.
They offered a lot of money in order to put a stop to it. But you see, when they put a stop to it, they also put a lid on it, so people don't hear about it. And that was my motivation, was to make sure that as wide an audience as possible hears what's going on.
At McLeod's initial trial, a civil jury found that the Basilians concealed Marshall's actions to avoid scandal. We reached out to the Basilians multiple times, asking them for an interview about their reason to appeal. They declined our request. They also didn't respond to our email in time for tonight's show. Now, Rod McLeod says he hopes his victory gives other victims hope and courage to come forward, adding that it is possible to achieve justice in Canada. I'm Adrian Ghobrial for CityNews.